Ryan here at etrailer. Today on our 2024 Kia Niro EV, we're going to be showing you how to install the Curt custom fit vehicle wiring harness. Before we do that though, let's take a moment, we'll check this out, make sure it's going to work for you. For those of you who plan on pulling a small trailer around or even using a light up accessory, you'll need a way to power up those lights. That way they work properly. And a kit like this is going to allow you to do that. It's going to have the 4-way flat type connector, which is really common, and it'll provide us with our turn signals, our brake lights, and our tail lights. As far as what this wiring kit is going to fit, and I said because it is customized for the Niro, kind of all over the place with the amount of submodels of these Niros. You got the HEV like we have here today, this fit without any issues, and a handful of other ones. And from my understanding, this wiring kit is going to work with all of them with one exception. That's the PHEV. And even then, it's hard to say, but this could be compatible with that vehicle. But to be on the safe side, if you happen to have the PHEV, until we get that figured out, if this kit will work with it or not, there still is a solution for you. You could get the Curt universal wiring kit, and with the universal type wiring, that'll work with pretty much any vehicle across the board. Since the wiring connector is going to live outside of the vehicle here next to the hitch, you have a couple of different options as far as securing or mounting it up. One of them being you could pick up what's called a 4-way flat bracket, which this would fit through there, and then you could get what's called a no-drill long bracket, which would connect to this one and then connect up on your trailer hitch. You can mount it up something like that. Or what you could do, in our case, what we're doing, you can just use the dust cover to loop it around. And I grabbed about a foot-long piece of this wire loom. You can put that over it just to help kind of clean up the installation look and help it blend in a little bit better. Aside from that, not really much to it, It's going to be the solution for those of you that are looking to power up trailer lights or accessory lights. As far as the installation goes, I wouldn't say it's really complicated by any means, but these are kind of tricky to work on. Just underneath there, you don't have a whole lot of room. Everything's just kind of awkward to get to. I did find a workaround on one of the steps that will speed up the installation process and I think makes it a little bit easier. So hopefully that can help you out if this is something you're going to do on your own. If not, you don't want to mess with this, you can always use our dealer locator network to help you find a shop in your neighborhood that can set this up for you. But if you're going to do it yourself, hang around, we'll go ahead and get started on it now. To begin our installation, we're going to be here at the back of our Kia and we're going to be working inside. So we'll open up our rear hatch, and we're going to need to remove any of our floor coverings here. So these will just lift right out of place. Over on our driver's side, we're going to have this little panel here, and we'll have to remove it. So you just pull down on that tab, that'll release, and then that'll expose. This is one of our tail light connectors here. And we just push down on this tab and separate the two. The way this wiring kit is going to work, you're going to have 3 separate T connectors, right? A yellow one, which will get connected underneath the bumper on the driver's side. A green one that'll get connected underneath the bumper on the passenger side. And then this one here, which will get connected behind that little panel that we just removed inside of there. And so from my understanding, if you remove some of these panels and stuff, it'll be a little bit easier to get in there because ultimately this wire is going to have to come from the bottom up into this pocket. With that said though, I just took a quick peek under here. There is a grommet. And so what I think I'm going to try to do, as opposed to taking all this stuff apart, is go underneath, we'll remove that grommet, we'll push this wire up, and if we can reach your hand in here and grab it enough to bring it up and connect it there, I think we'll be in good shape. So I feel like it's well worth the time to give this a try first. If it doesn't work out, not a huge deal, you know, be a few minutes of our time. We'll come back, remove the panels, and do it that way. Underneath of our driver's side, this is the grommet that I believe we can work with here. So I'm just gonna push it up and then kind of pull the whole thing out. And then I'll take our wiring connector and feed that straight up through there as far as I can. Let's see if we can reach down and through that opening and grab it from up top. I'm gonna reach down pretty far, and I believe I have it actually. Let's see, I do. So cool, that saved us a little bit of time. I was kind of thinking too, if you can't reach down there and grab it, my thought would be you could always take this, you know, from the bottom, tape it to maybe like a metal coat hanger. If you straighten it out or something like that, might keep it a little more rigid and bring it up higher, make it easier for you to grab. But I was able to reach down in there and get it, and now we can hook this part up. So one connector is going to go to one end of the factory wiring. And wherever the other end of it went here, there it is. And that part, just plug in there. Back underneath now, what you can do, take that grommet and just very carefully cut a little slice in it. That way you're able to feed our trailer wiring through it. And then we can put this grommet back into position here. Once you get that grommet put back into position, you can come back with some RTV silicone and seal everything up. It's never a bad idea to do that. Now we can locate the driver's side taillight connector behind the bumper. And this is it right here. Being that it's so tight in there, what I'll probably do is just remove it from its little keeper. It's what's kind of keeping the connector in place. That way I can lower this down some and give you a better look at it and how we're going to disconnect it, things like that. So just pop that off of its little retainer, and you can squeeze down on the middle of the connector plug, and that'll allow you to release the two ends, separate them from each other. And the side that's going to get plugged into this will be the yellow ends here, and just like up top, one end is going to match up here. Click those together. And the other one will go to the other side of the connector there. Over here on the passenger side, I did the same exact thing to get this T connector hooked up. It's going to be the one that has the green and white wires in it. So just like driver's side, same area, disconnect the two ends and tee in the trailer wiring. I want to mention too, I just have her wiring loosely routed right now. You know, it's over here. The green one just ran along through there. Eventually we'll come back and zip tie it all up and everything, but I want everything to be hooked up first. But I think we're at the point now where we can mount up our converter box here. And I'm going to use a two-sided sticky tape. I clean this surface off real good with some rubbing alcohol and let it dry. And I'm going to mount this right up in here on the bottom side of our trailer hitch. I cleaned the hitch off too. And being that it's real tight, I'll go ahead and just stick this in place and show you where I put it. Here's where I mounted up that box. And just for a safe measure too, I took a couple of zip ties and zip tied it around the hitch as well. What I've done now, the white wire coming out of that box, it has a pre-attached ring terminal on it. It's going to be a ground wire, so you have to attach it to a clean piece of metal. Really not a ton of options, at least within reach right here, but there was a little bit of sheet metal available. right here, and I use the supplied self-tapping screw to secure that ring terminal down. Wherever you decide to ground it, make sure it's a good clean piece of metal, and make sure that whatever you're drilling into, there's nothing of importance behind it. We can get our power wire hooked up now. So in the kit, you're gonna have a big bundle of this thicker black wire, and we're gonna strip the end back a little bit, and this is how we're gonna make all of our electrical connections, whether it be a butt connector, ring terminal. You twist that wire tight. This end coming out of the box is already pre-stripped. I just make sure to double check, make sure the wires are twisted tight. And then you're gonna take a butt connector. All right, I've upgraded to a heat shrink style. The ends seal up and help protect the ends corrosion a little bit better, but the ones that come in the kit will work just fine. I just like to tape them up real good once the connection's made. But you put the butt connector over the bare end of the wire, crimp it down. The other end will get connected to the black wire coming out of that box. Get that crimped. With the heat shrink style, you can take a heat gun and seal up the ends. I'm just also going to tape this up. Definitely not going to hurt. And you can start to route this power wire from the back up into the engine compartment here. So I started to do that. Just have it running along like this, kind of up and kind of around through here. Here's where wiring continues. And whenever you're routing wiring, you want to do your best to avoid any hot or moving parts. And you can use some of the zip ties that they give you to secure it along the way. I just have it following these factory lines here. And there's this panel, our car had it. It makes it easier to route if you drop it down. There's just a couple of 10mm head nuts you can pull out. Kind of pull it down and just tucked it on top of this little piece of plastic here. Along through here. And up through there. And that's where it goes up into the engine compartment. If you're having a hard time pushing it up through there, you can't always use a pull wire, so you can take a piece of tubing or a metal coat hanger again, drop it down from the top, tape your power wire to it, and then go back up top and pull it right into position. Here's where wiring comes up in the engine compartment, and then I simply just cut it to length. I used another butt connector and hooked up our included fuse holder. On the other end, I crimped on a ring terminal here, and what I'm going to do is take our ring terminal and I'm just going to cut a small opening in it, about like that, and that's because we're going to hook it up to this post here. And with these, you know, if I can help it, I try not to let the factory wire lose connectivity with the power posts. It's just something I do. I don't really think it's a huge deal, but by cutting that opening in it, we can take a 10mm socket and just loosen up that nut. I'm just keeping pressure on that connector there. And I'm just gonna slide that ring terminal under the nut, and I'm putting downward pressure on this the whole time to keep everything connected. So that's why I decided to do that, but we'll just tighten this back up. And now that that is in position, you can grab the fuse, go ahead and place that into the holder. Now it's a good idea to test our wiring to make sure that it's working properly. I like to use a tester like this as opposed to just hooking up to a trailer. And I say it because if the trailer happens to have any issues, it could mislead you. I think it's something you did wrong on the vehicle side. But at mine, we'll try our brake lights. our left turn, our right turn, and our taillights. Now that we know everything is working properly, if you still have that little panel removed on the inside, pop that back in, secure up any loose wiring. And with that done, that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Curt custom fit vehicle wiring harness on our 2024 Kia Niro.